From the Apubco Studios at Britain and Broadway, you're listening to a News OK podcast.
Hi everybody, I'm Matt Price. I'm here with DC Comics writer Sterling Gates on our News OK Comics podcast. He's filling in for the vacationing Kyle Roberts. We're here to talk about two recent comics. One, Billy Batson and the Magic of Shazam. This is written and drawn by Mike Kunkel, who you might remember from his work on Hero Bear and The Kid. What did you think of this one, Sterling?
I thought it was great. You know, I always like Mike Kunkel's style. He has, and he actually, even on the credits page, bills himself as story and heart. And I think it's a story with a lot of heart. And I think it's a really fun, nice little story about Billy Batson and how he gets around being both a kid and Captain Marvel, the superhero Captain Marvel.
Right. It's got this is actually a piece of work early in the book where it's sort of his conception of himself as Captain Marvel, but it's all got a very animated youth-like style. Something that I actually kind of wondered is that I think in some perceptions of Captain Marvel, Billy Batson is a kid, he says Shazam, and then he's Captain Marvel who is basically an adult, but Billy remembers what he's doing.
Right.
Recently it seems it's been more like Billy Batson is a kid, he says Shazam, he looks like an adult, but like in the movie Big or something, he still thinks of himself as a kid. And I think that's more what they went with here, although he's supposed to have the wisdom of Solomon, he still kind of acts like a kid.
Yeah,
so.
The wisdom of Solomon is just a voice in the back of his head, sort of trying to give him the advice that an adult would give.
But often he doesn't listen.
He completely ignores it, yeah.
We've also got Mary Marvel, who is not evil in this. We've been following Countdown. This is more based on, I think, the Jeff Smith series, where she's his littler sister and sort of has a brotherly, sisterly relationship.
Sibling rivalry.
Yeah, sibling rivalry. She doesn't grow up, again, like in the Jeff Smith series. She just is a girl who is then super powerful, which his explanation, I think, was what the power got diluted each generation down.
Splits with each person, and so he's a little bit weaker, and she's obviously more powerful than she is as a human.
As a human child.
Sure.
So yeah, but if you're looking for an all ages comic, this is only $2.25, and it's, I think, very kid appropriate. So
absolutely,
I think it's one to like in the '40s when Captain Marvel was a very popular kids comic. I hope this will be as well.
Yeah.
Now we'll move on to one that's more for the more adult readers. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, issue number 16. This one's written by Joss Whedon, and Carl Maline is the artist. Joss has been writing several of these and taking a break and letting other writers come and do an art, kind of like it on the TV series where he would write certain episodes and other writers would come in and write some. And this issue here brings the return of Frey, who was a character he wrote in a Dark Horse miniseries back when the show was still on the air.
And Frey is a Slayer from the future who, during the Frey comic series, learns about the Slayers and learns about becoming a vampire Slayer, and is given the axe, the scythe, that later turned up on Buffy,
in
the television
7 of Buffy,
series.
And still exists in the comic today. So I like Whedon's ear for dialogue, always have.
Absolutely.
And this reads very much like an episode of a TV series. It's not diluted or anything at all. I mean, it's very much like Season 8 as it's billed.
Mm-hmm. And if you've been following along, he fleshes out one of the subplots, which is Dawn's transformation.
Very funny stuff.
Extremely funny scene. He also, as demonstrated right here's the start of that transformation. And he fleshes that out, and he brings back. I love Frey. That was one of my favorite series when it was coming out. And
I'm glad to see that all time.
I was very glad to see him tying his future Slayer stuff back into the Buffy verse.
Yeah, exactly. And really, I think Carmine may be kind of underrated as an artist. I mean, you don't hear a lot about him, but I mean, look at how well he's doing on these pages.
I've loved him since he was on that CrossGen series, Route 666, which is a supernatural road trip comic book he was on, written by Tony Bedard. But he's a fantastic penciler. He's always done really well, and he's good at rendering the characters to look like the actors that portrayed them. I think he's just bang up work.
All right, excellent. So two pretty good comics you can pick up in your local comic book store. What's your pick of the two?
I'd say Buffy for the return of Frey.
Yeah, I also would say Buffy is maybe one of my favorite comics, but you couldn't go wrong with either one of these.
Absolutely.
Get Shazam for the kids, Buffy for mom, and you're set. So, all right, we'd like to thank our guest Sterling Gates for stepping in, filling in this week, and I am Matt Price. Thanks for downloading us.